Israel Adesanya will be out again in just a matter of weeks as he takes on Brazilian kickboxing legend Alex Pereira, who holds 2 wins over him from their glory days. However, Izzy has a highlight of his own from his own glittering career so far, having fought and beaten the best of the best in the UFC. Today, we are discussing Stylebender and his best knockouts and highlights. Stay with us. First up, it's that fight with Anderson. The highlight of any mixed martial artist's career, apart from winning the title, would be to fight against one of the game's true greats. Even better is to win against him, which is what Izzy did back in February 2019 as he took on Anderson Silva in just his 5th UFC fight. Stylebender controlled the action from the off and showed some excellent striking, catching the legendary Brazilian on more than a couple of occasions, with combinations such as the elbow, followed up by the knee, which we saw in the very first round. The fight was being billed as master striker against pupil. After Adesanya bagged the unanimous decision win, it was clear the torch had been passed from Brazil to New Zealand. This was the fight that really announced Izzy, and his performance deserves to be on any highlight reel documenting his best work. Next up, we're talking Robert Wilkinson. Stay tuned. Wilkinson was somewhat of a forgotten man in MMA circles and only actually fought twice in the UFC, losing both times. The final fight of his short stint came against Izzy, but he wouldn't last very long as Adesanya lit him up. Having defended a takedown beautifully in the first round by rolling out of it, Adesanya took control in the second, almost landing at will. He was seeing success with some slick combinations, which included heavy knees, and he had Wilkinson badly hurt with about 2 minutes of the second to go. A visibly tired Wilkinson was simply covering up on the fence with Izzy laying into him. He was offering nothing in the way of attack, and after being warned to fight back, he dropped to the canvas with the next body punch. And that was all she wrote for the Aussie. What did you make of this one? We have Brad Tavares coming through now. Stay with us. Izzy took on the always game Tavares in his first main event back in July 2018, earning himself a Performance of the Night bonus in the process. The Last Stylebender searched for the KO for the entire fight, but somehow the durability of Tavares allowed him to stay in it, even if he was getting outclassed everywhere. Izzy was looking for the highlight reel knockout at every opportunity, attempting spinning back kicks, spinning elbows, and the big knees and switch kicks, which he had become synonymous with. Of course, Izzy was awarded the unanimous decision win, but this fight simply served to announce him as one of the most dangerous strikers in the entire UFC. A superb win against a tough opponent. What did you make of Adesanya's performance in this one? Derek Brunson is joining us now. Stick around. Izzy took on one of the middleweight division's gatekeepers in the shape of Derek Brunson back at UFC 230, and would show the world why he was being talked about in the same breath as striking legend Anderson Silva. With just 40 seconds or so to go in round 1, Izzy stunned Bronson with a huge knee to the body, which visibly hurt Derek. The next few seconds saw a barrage of punches, knees, and finally, a head kick to drop the North Carolina native. Brunson would survive though, and even get back to his feet to throw a good shot back at the future champ. That just served to anger Izzy, who finished him off with another 1-2 before Herb Dean stepped in. Give us your thoughts on Izzy's career so far below. And now, we're talking Kelvin Gastelum. There was a point in time when Gastelum was being spoken about as a future middleweight champion. Coming into the Adesanya fight, he was on a 2-fight streak, having beaten former champion Michael Bisping and Jacare Souza. But Izzy was a different kettle of fish altogether. The Nigerian Kiwi would again show his striking prowess by knocking Kelvin down in the second, and then landing a huge spinning elbow, which somehow didn't knock his opponent out. Although it was acknowledged that Gastelum probably won a couple of rounds, Adesanya was never really in danger and seemed to be able to land that knee and straight right at will, again knocking him down another couple of times in the 5th. Another super striking display. Next up, it's Whittaker 2. Stick around. Izzy took on Rob for the second time at UFC 271 earlier this year, cementing his position as the top dog in the middleweight division by easily beating the second best fighter in the weight class. Some people suggested after the fight that Rob had done enough to wrestle the title back from Adesanya, but when you look at it objectively, Whittaker never had Stylebender in any real trouble. Izzy showed excellent understanding of range throughout and was barely ever there when Rob went in on the attack. Of course, the champ would come in for some criticism after the fight for what some would describe as a boring performance, but it wasn't really on him to bring it. He is the champion, and as such, fought a super intelligent fight to shut out an incredibly dangerous opponent. What did you make of the second Whittaker fight? Yoel is coming through now. Yoel Romero is legitimately one of the scariest men ever to walk walk the face of the earth. But that didn't worry Izzy whatsoever during their UFC 248 bout back in March 2020. Stylebender would score a huge win in his first full defense of the title he had just taken from Rob. But he didn't have it all his own way early on, as Romero started the quicker. Much like Anderson Silva used to do, Izzy took a round or two to figure out the puzzle that was Yoel. But once he had figured out the patterns of the big Cuban, he got to work on shutting him down. Again, he showed some excellent striking abilities and would also display a solid awareness of where Romero's attacks were coming from to bag the unanimous decision win. Were you guys fans of Romero? Pretty scary dude, am I right? Vettori 2 is next up, stick around. Izzy and Marvin danced in Adesanya's second fight in the promotion, with Izzy bagging a split decision win. Still, the rematch turned out a little differently, as Adesanya easily outclassed his opponent. The pair clashed in June 2021, as Vettori had put together a 5-fight win streak, with Izzy schooling the Italian by putting on a striking clinic. Marvin must have fancied his chances, given how close the first fight was, but he wouldn't get close to Adesanya this time around, as the champion easily won every round, showing off some pretty slick combinations, as well as an improved defense. The days of Izzy coming out all guns blazing, looking for the knockout seem to be over these days, as he has become a much smarter fighter. What do you guys make of Izzy's recent criticisms? And now Paulo Costa is stopping by. Costa came into his title fight with Israel back in September 2020, having never been defeated in his mixed martial arts career. He had also beaten the likes of former welterweight champion Johnny Hendricks, as well as the aforementioned Yoel Romero, so Adesanya would do well not to underestimate him. However, Costa stayed in the center too long during the opening round, allowing Izzy to go to work on his lead leg. So coming into the second round, it was easy pickings for Adesanya, as Costa was much less mobile. And not long after, Costa was down on the canvas after being dropped by some striking from Adesanya, who then followed him down to the ground, delivering some pretty heavy blows. With Izzy in full mount and Costa not able to throw back, the champion recorded one of the most dominant performances of his career. And finally, it's Whittaker 1. I mean, save the best to last, right? Not only did Adesanya knock Robert Whittaker out, he also claimed the middleweight title with the win. As improved as Rob looked wrestling-wise, Izzy was just a cut above when it came to the striking. Stylebender had actually knocked Rob down at the end of the first round, but the Aussie was saved by the bell, and both men went back to their respective corners. The two came out swinging again in the second, and as Rob looked to have landed a big left to the face of Izzy, the Nigerian came back and dropped the champ with a short left, before rushing in to finish him off on the ground. Whatever you make of Israel Adesanya these days, there's no doubting the man's greatness when it comes to striking. Give us your thoughts on Adesanya below. As usual, thanks for dropping in on us today, and remember to tune in again next time when we will be discussing all sorts of other cool bits and pieces. And why not do us a big favor by liking and sharing today's video, whilst also subscribing to our channel. Bye guys.